Next chapter is Parliament. The Parliament of India is the temple of democracy, and the people of India are its high priest, said by Lal Bahadur Shastri. Reasons for adoption of parliamentary system. First, familiarity with the system. India has established parliamentary traditions over the past decades, particularly after the Government of India Act 1935. Second, preference for responsibility. Third, harmony between legislature and executive to avoid conflicts between the legislature and the executive, common in US presidential system. Fourth, nature of Indian society. India's diverse and complex society. Fifth, flexibility, that is, allows for power sharing arrangements and coalition governments, crucial for diverse country like India. Next, features of parliamentary systems. First, nominal and real executive. Second, collective responsibility to Lok Sabha, Article 75, Subclause 3. Third, political hegemony. Ministers usually belong to the same political party or coalition. Fourth, membership of legislature. Fifth, leadership of Prime Minister as the head of government and leader of majority party. Sixth, dissolution of lower house. Seventh, opposition and accountability. Existence of responsible opposition ensures continuous legislative scrutiny. Functions of Parliament. First, legislative functions. It makes laws on subject in the Union and concurrent list. Article 245 to 246. It can create new states, alter boundaries, and legislate on state list. Article 249. Second, judicial functions. Impeaches the president. Article 61. Removal of judges of Supreme Court or High Court and punishes for contempt or breach of privilege. Third, deliberative function. Serves as a forum of national debate on policies, bills, and public issues, ensuring democratic deliberation. Fourth, constitutional function. Amends the constitution under Article 368 through special majority procedures. Next, financial functions. Exercises control over national finances, passes the budget, demands for grant and appropriation bills, enforces financial accountability through Public Accounts Committee and Estimates Committee. Next, executive control and oversight. Parliament holds Council of Ministers accountable through questions, debate, adjournment motion and no confidence motion. Sixth, electoral function. It participates in election of president and vice president, elects deputy speaker, deputy chairman and committee members. Coming to the issues with parliamentary form of government. Executive dominance. Government bypassing scrutiny by passing crucial bills as money bills undermines parliamentary oversight. Example, Aadhaar Act 2016. Second, criminalization. In the 18th Lok Sabha, 46%, that is 251 out of 543 of MPs face criminal charges, with 31% accused of serious crimes such as rape, murder and kidnapping. Third, reduced scrutiny by parliamentary committees. That is, only 17% of the bills in 17th Lok Sabha were referred to departmentally related standing committees concerned. So it was 60% in 14th Lok Sabha, 71% in 15th Lok Sabha and 30% in 16th Lok Sabha. Fourth point, decline in the number of sitting days. The 17th Lok Sabha sat only for 55 days. Fifth, underrepresentation of women. Women constitute approximately 14% of 18th Lok Sabha. Global average is 26.5%. Sixth, low productivity. 35% of bills were passed with less than an hour of discussion in Lok Sabha. The corresponding figure for Rajya Sabha was 34%. Seventh, inadequate time allocation. Example, the Tribunals Reform Bill 2021 was passed in Lok Sabha in about 17 minutes. Eighth, inadequate discussion. 58% of the bills were passed within 2 weeks of their introduction in 17th Lok Sabha. Example, Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Bill 2019 and Women's Reservation Bill 2023. Ninth number. About 31% of the total functioning time of Lok Sabha and 32% in Rajya Sabha was spent on discussion other than legislation and budgets. 10th Private Members Bill. In 17th Lok Sabha, 729 private members bill were introduced, the second highest ever, but only 2 were discussed. 11th, between 2019 and 2023, about 80% of the budget was passed without discussion, and in 2023, the entire budget was approved without debate. 12th, delimitation and representation concerns. Southern states fear reduced representation due to lower population growth despite effective control measures. Way forward. Increase working days. NCRWC 2022 recommended mandatory 110 days a year sitting. Second, enhancing parliamentary decorum. Encourage a culture of respect, professionalism, and active participation in debates among parliamentarians. Third, enhance research support for MPs. Dedicated legislative research units should be established. Example, UK Parliament Research Services. Fourth, encouraging public feedback on key bills and public issues. Fifth, Venkat Chalia Committee 2002 restricts the use of whip to no confidence motions only. Sixth, curbing criminalization of politics. Reforms such as fast track courts for swift justice, state funding of elections, and transparency for candidates' selection. Next, parliamentary sovereignty. The doctrine of parliamentary sovereignty means the parliament holds the supreme power within the state with no legal limitation on its authority or its jurisdiction. In India, however, there is constitutional sovereignty, not parliamentary sovereignty. First, limitations on parliamentary sovereignty in India. Number 1. The written constitution defines and limits the power of parliament. Second, supremacy of constitution. Any law violating constitution can be declared void by court under Article 30. Third, judicial review guaranteed under Article 13, 32 and 226. Fourth, separation of powers. Example, Article 121, 211 prohibit legislative discussion on conduct of Supreme Court and High Court judges. Fifth, basic structure doctrine. Parliament cannot destroy or damage the basic structure like democracy, secularism, federalism, rule of law, and judicial independence. Sixth, federal structure of governance. States have exclusive jurisdiction over matters in a state list unless under extraordinary provisions. Seventh, limited amendment procedure. Some constitutional amendments require ratification by at least half of the state. Article 368, subclause 2. Eighth, international law and treaties. Example, Vishaka versus State of Rajasthan, 1997. Supreme Court used CEDAW, Convention on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, to frame guidelines. Ninth, presidential veto limitations. Example, pocket veto. Coming to the mechanisms available with the Indian Parliament to ensure executive accountability. First, question hour. MPs question ministers on policy and governance issues. Second, 0 hour. Members raise urgent issues without notice. Example, Manipur violence 2023 and train accidents. Third, motion of no confidence. Article 75 subclause 3. If passed, the government must resign. Example, no confidence motion 2023 on Manipur issue. Fourth, censure and adjournment motion used to express disapproval of executive policies. Example, censure motion 2012 against FDI in retail policy. Fifth, cut motion and demand for grants allows parliament to reduce or reject specific budget allocations oversight. Example, PSC 2011 report on 2G spectrum case. Seventh, calling attention and half-hour discussion. Seek ministerial statement and urgent matters. Eighth, discussion on presidential address. It enables MPs to review government policies, priorities. Ninth, privilege motions raised when ministers mislead parliament. 10th, approval of ordinances and emergencies. Example, farm laws 2020. Role of Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is the second chamber of the parliament and consists of the representative of states and union territories and persons nominated by President of India. Jawaharlal Nehru said the Rajya Sabha represents the voice of reason and sobriety in our democracy. Ganesh Vasudev Mavalankar said a second chamber is not a luxury in federal system. It is a necessity for balanced legislation. Power of Rajya Sabha. Equal power with Lok Sabha. First, power can be divided into equal power with Lok Sabha, special powers of Rajya Sabha, limited powers with respect to Lok Sabha. So first is equal powers with Lok Sabha. First, ordinary bills can approve, reject or suggest amendments to ordinary bill. Second, constitutional amendments require 2/3 majority in each house. Third, impeachment of president can initiate and participate any house. Fourth, proclamation of emergency must approve the proclamation of national emergency, president's rule and financial emergency within a specified period. Special powers of Rajya Sabha. Article 249. Authorize Parliament to pass laws on state list subject in the national interest. Article 312. Rajya Sabha can authorize the Parliament to create new All India services. Third, removal of Vice President. Rajya Sabha alone can initiate a move for the removal of Vice President. Next, limited powers with respect to Lok Sabha. First, no confidence motion. It cannot be introduced in Rajya Sabha. Money bill, return bill to Lok Sabha within 14 days. Lok Sabha can either accept or reject. Third, joint sitting. Speaker of Lok Sabha presides and rules of procedure of Lok Sabha govern the joint sitting. Coming to the relevance of Rajya Sabha in Indian democracy. First, permanent and continuous chamber. Article 83. Ensures continuity in polity. Second, a revisory and deliberative role. First, acts as a house of revision, ensuring in-depth scrutiny of bills passed by Lok Sabha. Second, checks hasty or populist legislation, enhancing legislative quality. Third, provides a platform for smaller and regional parties to articulate their views. Next point is voice of the state. Article 80 and 81 functions as federal bridge, giving states a voice in national lawmaking and promoting cooperative federalism. Fourth point is constitutional and electoral role. Rajya Sabha plays a key role in constitutional amendment, Article 368, and election of president and vice president. Next point is President nominates 12 eminent members, enhancing diversity and expertise, bringing non-political and intellectual voices into national discourse. Coming to the concerns related to Rajya Sabha, first is concerns regarding legislative role. First, bypassing through money bill route. Example, Aadhaar Act 2016. Second, acquisition of obstructionism. Example, delaying progressive legislation such as Privy Purse Bill to 1970, Panchayati Raj Bills 1989. Third, declining productivity. Productivity fell from 95% in 1990s to 74% in 2014 to 21, with a low of 40% in 2018 due to frequent disruptions and walkouts. Next, concerns related to executive accountability role. First, Rajya Sabha cannot move in no confidence motion, limiting direct executive accountability. Second, limited role in financial oversight, no representation in the estimates committee, and restricted role in PAC, Parliamentary Accounts Committee. Third, Public Accounts Committee. Third, political partisanship. Increasing party polarization has led to deadlocks and reduced its deliberative character. Coming to the concerns related to representative role. First, dilution of federal character. 2003 Amendment to Representation of People Act and Kuldeep Nair judgment removed the domicile requirement, weakening state representation. Second, unequal representation of states in Rajya Sabha. Example, Uttar Pradesh has 31 seats, has more representation than all northeast states combined. Third, a parking lot of wealthy candidates. That is, 36% of the current Rajya Sabha members have criminal antecedents, and 87% have seats over assets over 1 crore, with 12% billionaires given by ADR. Fourth, misuse of presidential nominations used as a tool for political rehabilitation of political loyalists. Coming to the way forward. First, equal representation for each state so that large states do not dominate the proceeding, is similar to US system. Second, NCRWC 2002 called for a clear procedure for nominating eminent members. Third, Punchhi Commission 2010 expanding the electoral college for Rajya Sabha to include panchayats and municipalities. Fourth, procedural and institutional reforms allow Rajya Sabha sessions independent of Lok Sabha to underline its permanent and continuous nature. Fifth, enhance legislative research and committee resources to support members. Conclusion. With the Planning Commission abolished and Interstate Council inactive, Rajya Sabha should serve as a permanent institutional bridge for federal consultation. Coming to the X factor points, at present 79 parliaments of the world, that is 41% of the total number, are bicameral. In the Federalist, the famous essay written in 1787 and 1788 by James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay, it was stated that the second chamber enables a second and reflective expression of representative opinion, besides checking the propensity to yield the impulse of sudden and violent passion. Coming to the role of presiding officer, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Article 93, and the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, Article 64, are the presiding officers of the two houses of Parliament. They are entrusted with maintaining order, ensuring legislative discipline, and upholding the dignity and autonomy of Parliament. Coming to the functions. Legislative functions. First, presides over the sitting and ensures orderly conduct of business and debates. Decides on admissibility of questions, motions, and resolutions. Third, certifies bills as money bill, Article 110, a decision that is final and binding. Coming to the disciplinary functions, they maintain decorum and order in the House, can suspend or name members for disorderly conduct. Next, quasi-judicial functions. decides question on disqualification under 10th schedule, that is anti-defection law. Coming to the administrative and procedural role, first, interprets rules of procedure and parliamentary practices. Second, allocates time for debates and discussions and decides the agenda of the House. Coming to the guardian and parliamentary privilege, first, safeguards the rights, privilege, and independence of the House and its members. Second, represents the House in all communications with President and external authorities. Next is role in parliamentary committees. First, refers bill to parliamentary committees for detailed examination. Second, Speaker nominates members to committees and serves as ex officio chairperson of key bodies like the Rules Committee and Business Advisory Committee. Coming to the issues, the Speaker combines both legislative leadership, presiding over sessions, and quasi judicial functions, that is, anti defection adjudication, privilege inquiries, therefore creating conflict of interest. Second, partisan role and political bias. Example, in Manipur and Maharashtra defection case 2020 and 2023, delay in decision benefited ruling coalition. Third, discretion in disqualification under 10th schedule. Speaker is both judge and party member under the anti-defection law, creating a conflict of interest. Fourth, suspension and control of House. Powers under Rule 374A gives the Speaker unilateral authority to suspend MPs for grave disorder. Example, 2023 mass suspension of 143 MPs. Fifth, Speaker's certification under Article 110 is final and non-justiciable, enabling executive misuse. Example, Aadhaar Act 2016 passed as money bill. Sixth, lack of neutral safeguard. Unlike the UK, Indian Speaker remains a party member and contests elections on party tickets, therefore compromising neutrality. Seventh, Article 122. Judicial review of parliamentary proceeding is limited, allowing unchecked speaker discretion. Eighth, decline in parliamentary deliberation. Railroading bills without adequate discussion. Example, Farm Bill 2020 via voice vote. Ninth, absence of accountability mechanism. The speaker is accountable only to House majority, which often coincides with ruling party. 10th, increasing executive influence and declining impartiality have damaged the institutional credibility of the Speaker's office, a trend described as executarian speakership. Coming to the way forward, first, codify Speaker's neutrality, that is, mandatory resignation from a political party upon election. Second, amend Rule 374A, that is, require House concurrence for suspension beyond 1 day. Third, limit Speaker's role in anti-defection law. In the Kesham Meghachandra case, the Supreme Court suggested that the current system could be replaced by a permanent tribunal. Fourth, introduce legislative due process to guarantee minimum debate standards inspired by Israel's Quantinsky v. Knesset, which annulled a Rust tax law for violating principle of participation. Fifth, adopt Britain's model. Following the British Convention, political parties should avoid opposing the Speaker during elections to ensure impartiality. Next, anti-defection law. The 52nd Amendment Act of 1985 introduced in 10th schedule of the Constitution, outlining the procedure for disqualifying legislature due to defection. Anti-defection law aims to prevent or discourage defection by imposing penalties on politicians who switch parties or otherwise violate party discipline. Now, grounds for disqualification under anti-defection law. First, if a member voluntarily resigns or gives up their political party membership. Second, if a member votes or does not vote in the House contrary to the direction of political party. However, if the member has taken prior permission or is condoned by the party within 15 days from such voting or abstinence, the member shall not be disqualified. Third, independent members joining a party after election as an independent candidate. Fourth, nominated member joining a party 6 months after appointment. Next is exceptions to anti-defection law. First, merger exception. A political party merger occurs when two-thirds of its members agree. Members leaving due to merger are exempt from disqualification under the law. Second, presiding officer exemption. Elected presiding officers can temporarily relinquish party membership to ensure impartiality. Coming to the constitutional and legal provisions, first, 10th schedule. Introduced by 52nd Amendment Act 1985, it outlines procedures and criteria for disqualifying members due to defection. Second, 91st Amendment Act 2003. The amendment eliminated the provision that allowed splits in parties. Earlier, if one-third of the member of the legislative party defected, it was considered legal. Second, a member of the House belonging to a political party who is disqualified under the 10th schedule for defection shall also be disqualified to be appointed as a minister. Now, coming to the significance of anti-defection law. First, combating corruption and horse trading addresses the historical issue of Aya Ram Gaya Ram in Indian politics. Second, ensures government stability by preventing members from switching party allegiance. Third, protects legitimate mergers. It recognizes that parties may evolve, allowing a two-third majority to merge without losing membership. Fourth, upholds electoral mandate, that is, respects the voters' choice by ensuring a representative stays with the party they were elected under. Fifth, strengthens party discipline, that is, provides a legal framework for party leadership to maintain unity during critical legislative votes. Sixth, reduces corruption, uh, discourages the purchase of legislature through ministerial berths or monetary incentive during narrow majority situation. Seventh, quasi-judicial clarity. It grants the presiding officer clear authority to adjudicate cases, providing a faster alternative to civil courts. Coming to the criticism of the anti-defection law in India. First, wholesale over retail defection. While individual defection is banned, the two-third merger rule effectively legalizes mass shift by larger groups. Second, lack of time limit for disqualification. 56% of the defection cases between 2014 and 19 were decided with significant delays, mostly favoring the ruling party. PRS Legislative Research. Third, partisan role of speakers. Fourth, stifles internal dissent. Legislature cannot vote based on their conscience or constituency interest if it contradicts the party whip. Fifth, vagueness of voluntary giving up. Conduct like criticizing the party is often interpreted as giving up membership. Example, Ravi Nayak, 1994 case. Sixth, dictatorship of the High Command. Power is concentrated in a few leaders who control the whip, reducing MPs to voting machines. Seventh, legislatures resign to bypass the 10th schedule only to be re-elected on the opposing party's ticket. Example, in MP in 2018. Supreme Court judgments. First, Kyoto Holohan versus Jachil Hu case, 1992. The Supreme Court upheld the law but declared that Speaker's decision is subject to judicial review for malafide or procedural errors. Second, Kesham Meghachandran Singh case, 2020, ruled that Speaker should ideally decide disqualification case within 3 months. Third, Subhas Desai versus Governor of Maharashtra, 2023. clarified that whip and leader must be appointed by political party, not just legislative wing. Fourth, Telangana Speaker case, February 2026, reaffirmed that indecision by the Speaker cannot defeat the purpose of 10th schedule, threatening contempt for delays. Next, way forward. First, Dinesh Goswami Committee and ECI recommended disqualification by President Governor based on the Election Commission's advice. Second, External Tribunal transfer adjudication powers to an independent permanent tribunal headed by retired judges, given by Supreme Court recommendation in 2020 in Kesam Megha Chandra Singh versus Speaker case. Third, limiting the whip. The whip should be only be binding for critical motions, that is, no confidence budget, to allow free speech on other bills. Fourth, statutory timelines. Amend the rule to mandate a final decision within 60 to 90 days of filing a petition. Fifth, pre-election coalition. Grant the same legal status to pre-poll alliances as single parties to prevent post-poll horse trading. Sixth, barring ministerial berths. Extend the ban on holding ministerial posts for defectors even if they win a by-election immediately. Seventh, intra-party democracy. Legally mandate internal election within parties to ensure the whip represents the members' will, not just the leaders' will. Coming to the parliamentary privileges, parliamentary privilege refers to the special rights, immunities, and exemptions granted to members of parliament and parliamentary committees to perform their duties effectively. Article 105 of Indian Constitution defines these privileges for MPs, while Article 194 extends similar privilege for state legislature. First, source of parliamentary privilege. That First, constitutional provision. Second, parliamentary laws. Third, rules of procedure of both houses. Fourth, established conventions. Fifth, judicial interpretations. Next, coming to the classification of parliamentary privileges. First is individual privileges. Protection from arrest. 40 days before and after the session. This applies only to civil cases. Second, freedom of speech. Third, exemption from jury services. Next, coming to the collective privileges. First, publication right. Press can publish true reports of parliamentary proceeding without prior permission except in case of secret sessions. Second, exclusion of strangers. Third, regulatory authority. Each house can make rules to regulate its procedures, conduct its business, and adjudicate related matters. Fourth, punitive powers. Each house can punish members or outsiders for breaching its privilege or contempt through reprimand, admonition, imprisonment, suspension, or expulsion. Fifth, notification rights. Parliament has the right to receive immediate information regarding the arrest, detention, conviction, imprisonment, and release of its members. Sixth, inquiry powers. Each house can conduct inquiries, summon witnesses, and request relevant papers and records. Seventh, judicial immunity. Courts are prohibited from inquiring into parliamentary proceedings or actions of its committees. Coming to the significance of parliamentary privileges, legislative independence. It ensures autonomy from executive and judiciary, reinforcing a separation of powers. Second, independent policy deliberations. Ensures members speak their minds on sensitive national issues without fear of defamation suits. Third, effective government scrutiny. Shields MPs while questioning the government. Example, Public Accounts Committee summoning officials in the 2018 Rafale deal inquiry. Fourth, maintaining discipline. Allows enforcement of order, including suspensions for misconduct. Fifth, dignity of the House. The power to punish for contempt maintains the sanctity and decorum of the legislative chamber. Sixth, accountability mechanism. Example, in 2018, the Rajya Sabha suspended MP Vijay Mallya for misusing his position and evading financial obligations. Seventh, ensuring parliamentary supremacy. Privileges ensure that Parliament remains the final arbiter of its own internal rules and business. Coming to the issues, first, lack of codification. Absence of clear laws leads to ambiguity and rule by convention from the British era. Second, bribery and corruption. Recent judgments show that immunity was being misused to shield criminal acts like taking bribes. Example, Sita Soren case. Third, conflict with fundamental rights. The right to privilege clashes with citizens' right to free speech. Article 19. Example, privilege notices to journalists for reporting on speaker's conduct. Fourth, vague definition of contempt. Unlike breach of privilege, contempt is undefined, allowing for arbitrary use against critics. Fifth, violation of natural justice. The House acts as prosecutor, judge, and executioner in its own cause during privileged trials. Next is political vendetta. Majority parties sometimes use privilege motion or to silence or expel vocal opposition members. Seventh, opacity of committee proceedings. Privileged committee meetings are usually in camera, leading to a lack of public transparency. Eighth, archaic nature. Many privileges are verbatim copies of 19th century UK House of Commons disconnected from modern India. Example, privileges like secret sittings, etc. Major Supreme Court judgments. First, Sita Soren versus Union of India 2024. A landmark 7-judge bench ruled that MPs MLA have no immunity from prosecution for taking bribes to vote. Second, K. Anandan Nambiar case 1951 established that an MP has no special status over citizens in criminal cases or preventive detention. Third, Raja Rampal versus Honorable Speaker 2007 upheld the House's power to expel members for conduct that brings the House into disrepute. Fourth, Searchlight case MSM Sarma ruled that parliamentary privilege, uncodified, can prevail over a citizen's right to freedom of speech. Coming to the way forward, first, legislative codification. Enact a Parliamentary Privilege Act to clearly define breach and contempt. Second, harmonious construction. Privilege should be interpreted to exist alongside fundamental rights, not supersede them. Third, independent tribunal. That is, adjudication of privilege breaches should be moved to a neutral body to ensure natural justice. Fourth, adopt the UK's Defamation Act model where serious harm must be proven before the notice is issued. Fifth, transparency in adjudication. Live stream the parliamentary committee's hearing except for national security to ensure public accountability. Sixth, time bound resolution. Fix a 60-day limit for the disposal of privilege motions to prevent long drawn political harassment. Seventh, training and sensitization. Mandatory orientation for first time MPs in 2026 on the ethical use of their immunities. So, codification of parliamentary privileges, arguments in favor. Codification would define privileges clearly, removing ambiguity. Second, limits misuse by members under vague cover of breach of privilege. Third, establishing clear guidelines ensures responsible use of privilege while allowing scrutiny. Fourth, helps build public trust by showing that parliament is not above the law. Fifth, many democracies, example UK, Australia, have codified or partially codified privileges. Arguments against. Flexibility would be lost. Future unforeseen situations may not be covered. Codification could be bypassed or exploited through technical loopholes. Third, may lead to judicial intervention in parliament. Fourth, may undermine the dignity and sovereign status traditionally associated with legislatures. Fifth, Indian conditions are unique. Borrowed models may not suit Indian political dynamics. Coming to the money bills, Article 110 of Constitution of India outlines the definition of a money bill, stating that a bill is considered a money bill if it contains only provisions dealing with specific financial matters. These include: first, the imposition, abolition, remission, alteration, or regulation of any tax. Second, the regulation of borrowing of money or the giving of any guarantee by Government of India. Third, the custody of consolidated fund or contingency fund of India. The payment of money into or the withdrawal of money from any such fund. Fourth, the appropriation of money out of the Consolidated Fund of India. Fifth, declaring of any expenditure to be expenditure charged or Consolidated Fund of India on the Consolidated Fund of India. Sixth, the receipt of money on account of Consolidated Fund of India or Public Account of India or the custody or issue of such money. Seventh, any matter incidental to any of the matters specified above. Exclusions from money bill as outlined in Indian constitutions. First, these include the imposition of fines, pecuniary penalties, fees for license or services, and local taxes imposed by local authorities for local purposes. These matters are not considered directly related to the central financial policies of the union government. Need ensures executive speed, allows the government to pass essential financial laws without the risk of long drawn delays in Rajya Sabha. Example, Financial Bill 2026. Second, reflects the principle that only the House of People should have the final say in people's money. Third need is financial stability. It prevents a fiscal cliff by ensuring that Consolidated Fund of India is never blocked by political deadlock. Fourth, exclusive presidential oversight. It requires prior recommendation of the president, ensuring the exclusive and legislative wings are executive and legislative wings are in sync. Fifth, administrative efficiency. It combines multiple fiscal measures into a single bill, reducing the legislative burden on parliament. Sixth need is constitutional guardrails. Explicitly excludes fines or fees for services from being termed money bills, preventing executive overreach. Coming to the issues, bypassing the Rajya Sabha. Example, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code and PMLA amendments were passed via this route. Second issue is legislative smuggling, embedding non-financial provisions like data privacy or tribunal reforms into finance bill to fast-track them. Third, role of certifying authority. Allegations have surfaced regarding the speaker's potentially biased role due to a speaker's sole discretion in certifying bill as money bill. Fourth, fiscal mismanagement risk. Limited scrutiny can lead to poorly considered financial policies. Fifth, conflict with Article 117. The thin line between a money bill and a financial bill type 1 is frequently exploited to favor the former. Next, way forward. First is standing committee scrutiny. Every bill intended for money bill certification should be reviewed by a bipartisan committee before the speaker's final stamp. Second, judicial committee. The speaker should voluntarily refer hybrid bills to Rajya Sabha to maintain the spirit of bicameralism. Third, codified guidelines. Parliament should enact rules that prevent the clustering of unrelated laws within the annual finance bill. Coming to the profile of MPs, analysis of the profile of the elected member of parliament in the 18th Lok Sabha. First, the average age of MPs elected to the 18th Lok Sabha is 56 years. This was 59 years in 17th Lok Sabha. Second, 11% of the MPs are 40 years or younger. 3 MPs elected to the 18th Lok Sabha are 25 years old. Third, education profiles. 78% of the MPs have completed at least undergraduate education. 5% of the MPs have the doctorate degree, including 3 women MPs. Fourth, women representative. 74 MPs, that is 14% elected to are the women. 16% of these women MPs are below the age of 40. Fifth, professional profile. Agriculture, that is 37%, and social work 48% are the most common professions among MPs elected in the 18th Lok Sabha. Sixth, criminal cases. 46%, that is 251 MPs in the 18th Lok Sabha have criminal cases registered against them. 27 MPs declared they were convicted. 15 MPs were charged with crimes against women, of which 2 were accused of rape. Seventh, legislative experience. 52% of the newly elected MPs are first timers in Lok Sabha. That is 262 MPs elected in the 18th Lok Sabha have previously served as members of Lok Sabha. Coming to the women representation in parliament, the total number of women contesting a general election in the country has increased from 3% in 1957 in 10% to 2024. Second, candidacy. The number of women contesting general election has grown substantially from 45 candidates in 1957 to 797 in 2024. Third, parliamentary representation. Women's representation in the Lok Sabha increased from 5%, that is 22 seats in 1951, to 13.46%, 74 seats in 2024. In the Rajya Sabha, female representation rose from 7% in 1952 to 13% in 2023. Fourth, local governance. Women hold 46% of positions in local self-government institutions, totaling approximately 1.45 million female representatives. Coming to the needs. First, correcting underrepresentation. 48.5% of India's population holds only 14% of Lok Sabha seats. India ranks 143 in parliamentary general parity, lagging behind neighbors like Bangladesh. Second, enhancing substantive policy focus. Example, studies on Panchayati Raj show women leaders invest more in public goods than male counterparts. Third, improving governance and efficiency. Women lawmakers are less likely to be involved in criminal activities and corruption. Example, 27% of women MPs or MLAs have criminal cases compared to 40% of the men. ADR. Fourth, closing the global gender gap. Example, India slipped 131st in the 2025 Global Gender Gap Report due to failing political representation. Fifth, achieving Nari Shakti led development. Transitioning women from passive beneficiaries of schemes to active makers of national laws and budgets. Sixth, addressing gender specific legislation. Representation ensures that laws on sensitive issues like sexual violence and domestic labor are gender sensitive. Seventh, economic impact. According to McKinsey Global Institute report, closing gender gap in employment, including political leadership, could add 28 trillion dollar to global GDP by 2025. Eighth, challenging patriarchy. To change the stereotyped image of women as only homemakers, and there will be gradual acceptance of women as lawmakers. Ninth, constitutional mandate for equality. Article 14 and Article 15(3). 10th, positive role of modeling and social change. Promotes female participation in education, workforce, and governance. Coming to the issues, ticket distribution stage. Male dominated party hierarchies denies tickets or fielding them in losing seats. Example, in 2024 only 9.6% of the total candidates were women. Second, lack of institutional support mechanism, that is absence of adequate training, leadership development and capacity building programs for women politicians. Third, delimitation linked implementation delay. The 33% reservation is legally tied to a future census and redrawing of boundaries. Fourth, high financial barriers. The monetization of elections disproportionately affects women who often lack independent assets or corporate backing. Fifth, the proxy representation, that is Panchayat Pati syndrome. In many cases, women are fielded as figureheads while male relatives exercise the executive actual political power. Sixth, uh, gender based political violence. Women face physical threats and character assassination, creating a hostile environment that discourages new entrant. Seventh, disproportionate care burden. Societal expectations regarding domestic duties and child rearing limit the time women can dedicate to a 24 into 7 politics. Eighth, lack of inner party democracy. The absence of transparent, merit based candidate selection favors dynastic women over grassroots women leaders. Coming to the measures taken to improve women's representation, first, 106th Amendment 2023 proposes 33% reservation for women in Lok Sabha and state assemblies, pending implementation after the next census and delimitation. Second, political party quotas. A. Trinamool Congress TMC, 40% women candidates. Second, Biju Janata Dal, Odisha, pioneered the formal 33% voluntary reservation. Third, in 2022 UP Assembly elections, Congress fielded 40% women under Ladki Hoon, Lad Sakti Hoon campaign. Coming to the way forward, first, mandatory internal party quotas. Amend the Representation of the People Act 1951 to mandate that political parties give 33% of tickets to women. Second, capacity building. Scale up programs like Sasakt Panchayat Netri Abhiyan 2025 to train local women leaders for national roles. Third, establishing cross party women's caucuses, that is, create formal parliamentary groups where women MPs can unite on gender specific legislation across ideological lines. Fourth, create a gender equality fund to provide financial assistance to women candidates. Fifth, institutionalizing gender sensitization training for all parliamentary staff to recognize and support female leadership. Sixth, inclusive subquotas in that is intersectionality. Address demands for a quota within quota for OBC and minority women to ensure diverse social representation. Seventh, global best practices. First, Zipper system in Mexico and Bolivia requires parties to alternate between male and female candidates on their list. Second, Rwanda leads the world with 64% women in parliament. Their constitution reserves for 24 out of 80 seats for women. Third, in Sweden, the Social Democratic Party's crisis of representation in 1990s led to voluntary 50% quota. Last, in Georgia, parties receive a 30% financial bonus if their candidate list includes at least one woman in every trio of candidates. Um, Coming to the Constitutional Amendment 106th Amendment Act 2023. The Constitution Amendment 106th Amendment Act 2023 reserves one third of all seats for women in Lok Sabha, State Legislative Assembly and Legislative Assembly of National Capital Territory of Delhi, including those reserved for SCs and STs. Key provision. Articles amended. Article 239 AA reserves one third of the seat for women in Legislative Assembly of NCT in Delhi. Articles inserted. Article 330A reserves one third of the seats for women in the Lok Sabha, including seats reserved for SCs, STs under Article 330. Article 332A reserves one third of the seat for women in state legislative assemblies, including seats reserved for SCs, STs under 332. Article 334A provisions take effect after delimitation following the first census post Act commencement. Sunset clause. Reservation ceases 15 years after implementation but can be extended by Parliament. Periodic rotation of reserved seats after each delimitation as determined by Parliament. Last feature is no impact on current legislative representation until dissolution. Coming to the parliamentary committees, according to the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, parliamentary committees are the backbone of parliamentary democracy. Parliamentary committees are regarded as miniature legislature or workhorses of parliament, functioning to ensure detailed, non-partisan and expert scrutiny of legislative and financial matters. Woodrow Wilson said, Congress in session is Congress on public exhibition, while Congress in its committee room is Congress at work. Classification. First, Standing Committee. Permanent committees constituted by Parliament to deal with specific areas of public policy or administration. Second, Financial Committees. The Public Accounts Committee, uh, Committee on Public Undertaking, Estimates Committee, etc. Third, Committees to Inquire, Committee of Privileges, Committee of Petition, Ethics Committee. Fourth is Departmental Standing Committees. Fifth is Committees to Scrutinize and Control. Sixth is Committee relating to day-to-day business of the House. Seventh is Housekeeping Committees or Service Committees. Eighth is Ad hoc Committees, temporary committees constituted for specific purpose and for a limited period of time. Example, Joint Parliamentary Committee. Coming to the significance of parliamentary committees, first, workload management of parliament, that is principle of division of labor. Second, checks and balances. Example, the Public Account Committee has played a critical role in examining financial irregularities such as 2G spectrum allocation scam. Third, facilitating in-depth policy analysis and improving legislative quality. Committee scrutiny of bills reduces drafting errors and legal loopholes before enactment. Fourth, expert consultation and evidence-based decision making. Committees can invite experts, civil society groups, and industry representatives for consultation. Cross-party consensus building. Committees work away from adversarial floor, enabling bipartisan cooperation on sensitive issues. Sixth, ad hoc joint parliamentary committees investigate specific financial scandals and institutional failures. Example, JPC on Harshad Mehta stock market scam. Seventh, budgetary oversight. Departmentally related standing committees analyze budget allocations and expenditure trends to ministries, ensuring financial prudence. Eighth, continuity in policy review. Unlike parliamentary sessions, which are time bound, committees function throughout the year, ensuring sustained oversight. Ninth, bridging knowledge gap among MPs. Committees, discussions, and expert briefing equip MPs with better understanding of specialized and technical matters. Coming to the challenges, first, declining bill referrals. Example, referral rate dropped from 71% in 15th Lok Sabha to just 17% in 17th Lok Sabha. Second, non-binding recommendations. The government is not legally required to accept committee suggestions. Third, short tenure of members. The one-year term for member prevents them from developing deep subject matter expertise. Fourth, lack of discussion. Since they are recommendatory in nature, reports of committees are rarely taken up for discussion in parliament. Fifth, unlike legislative committees in countries like US, Indian committees cannot enforce their recommendation or summon ministers. Sixth, low attendance. In 17th Lok Sabha, average attendance for committee member meetings was only 47%. Seventh, limited support. Currently, technical support available to committees is limited to secretariat that help scheduling meetings and taking notes. In Canada, Library of Parliament provide staff to committees on request. Eighth, post-mortem analysis. Example, the Public Account Committee is still auditing 2021-22 pandemic expenditures in 2026 session. Ninth, weak sub poina powers. While they can summon officials, they lack the contempt power to punish non-compliance effectively. 10th, lack of public awareness and transparency. Committee proceedings are held behind closed doors, limiting public engagement and scrutiny. 11th, resource crunch. Committees have limited budgets to travel for on site inspections or hire private auditors. 12th, transparency concerns. Meeting held behind closed doors with no published minutes raise transparency issues. Coming to the way forward, first, mandatory referral. Amend rules of procedure to make bill referral to committees the default rather than discretionary, similar to UK system. Second, extend tenures. Increase the term of committee members from 1 year to 2 to 5 years for expertise. Third, binding nature. Selective. Make unanimous recommendations binding on government. Fourth, dedicated research staff. Every DRSC should have a team of subject matter expert and legal researchers similar to US Congressional Research Service CRS. Fifth, transparency. Live stream committee hearing excluding sensitive security matters to ensure public accountability. Sixth, inter-session meetings. Encourage committees to meet more frequently during the inter-session period to reduce pendency. Seventh, gender parity. Ensure that every committee has at least 33 women members following the spirit of 2026 delimitation bill. Eighth, mandatory response from government. Ministries should be legally required to respond within a fixed timeline, example 3 months, to DRSC committees. Coming to the Ethics Committee, the Ethics Committee serves as the moral guardian of the Indian Parliament, ensuring that the conduct of legislature aligns with the dignity of the House. History and origin. 1996 Presiding Officers Conference in New Delhi recommended ethical oversight bodies. Second, Rajya Sabha, the first such committee in any Indian legislature, constituted in 1997. Lok Sabha, an ad hoc committee was formed in 2000, became permanent committee in 2015. Lok Sabha committee has a strength of 15 members and Rajya Sabha have 10 members. Key powers and functions. First, overseeing moral conduct. Monitors the behavior of members to ensure it meets the ethical standards expected of people's representatives. Second, examination of complaints. Investigates specific cases of ethical misconduct referred by presiding officer or other members. Third, code of conduct formulation. Tasked with preparing and updating the code of conduct for MPs through a formal, comprehensive code of Lok Sabha is still evolving. Fourth, register of interest. In the Rajya Sabha, the committee maintains a register where members declare their business interest to prevent conflict of interest. Fifth, advisory role. Provides advisory opinions to members on whether a particular action like accepting a gift would be ethically sound. Sixth, recommending penalties. Can suggest punishments ranging from warning, censure to suspension or expulsion from the House. Case studies. Mahua Moitra Cash for Query Case 2023. Ethics Committee of Lok Sabha conducted an inquiry and recommended her expulsion from the House. Subramaniam Swamy case. The Rajya Sabha Ethics Committee censured him and directed members not to make baseless accusations. In 2001, Rajya Sabha Ethics Committee proposed a 15-point code of conduct, including transparency in financial dealing, refraining from lobbying and maintaining decorum. Investigated commission seeking for project approvals under MP LADS.
Concerns. The term unethical conduct is not legally defined, giving the committee broad discretionary powers. Second concern is overlap with privilege committee. Example: serious corruption like bribery technically falls under the breach of privilege, leading to confusion. Third, overlapping responsibilities. The ethics committee and the privilege committee occasionally deal with similar cases. Fourth, short tenure. 1 year tenure is insufficient for in-depth examination of code of conduct and long-term policy making. Fifth, advisory opinion. Decision of the committee on ethics are advisory and not binding on speaker. Sixth, political bias. Since members are nominated by party leadership, decisions may be influenced by partisan interest, undermining fairness. Seventh, limited transparency. Proceedings are confidential and reports are not always made public. Eighth, lack of enforcement mechanism. There is no legal penalty for violating the code of conduct. Punishment depends on political will rather than institutional authority. Ninth, delayed proceedings lead to ethical violations to fade from public attention without resolution. 10th, no independent technical or research support is provided to the committee, limiting its ability to investigate complex matters. Coming to the way forward, first, clear definition of unethical conduct. The code of conduct for MPs should be updated to include modern ethical challenges such as misinformation, misuse of social media, and conflicts of interest. Third, Law Commission of India 2015 report on election reforms suggested a public complaints mechanism for reporting ethical violations. Fourth, global best practices for strengthening the ethics committee. First, United Kingdom Parliamentary Commissioner for Standards investigates breaches and reports to the Committee on Standards. Second, United States, the Office of Congressional Ethics (OCE) reviews allegations against House members and refers them to Ethics Committee. Australia, Register of Pecuniary Interest to prevent corporate lobbying. Coming to the delimitation. Delimitation is an act of fixing limits or boundaries of territorial constituencies in country to reflect population changes. Article 82 mandates Parliament to enact a Delimitation Act after every census. Third, Article 170 provides for the readjustment of seats in State Legislative Assembly after every census. Article 327 empowers Parliament to make provisions with respect to all matters relating to election, including delimitation. History of delimitation in India. First, delimitation commissions have been established 4 times in 1952, 63, 73 and 2002. And the 42nd Amendment 1976 froze seat allocation based on 1971 census until 2000. The 84th Amendment 2001 extended this freeze until the first census after 2026. Key proposal of the 131st Amendment Bill 2026. The expansion of Lok Sabha from 543 to 850 seats, 815 for states, 35 for union territories. Second proposal is enables delimitation based on 2011 census data to avoid further delays. Third, links the implementation of 33% quota Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam to its fresh delimitation. Fourth, the Lok Sabha to Rajya Sabha seat ratio will shift from 2.2:1 to 3.3:1. Justification of delimitation. First, upholding one person, one vote. Example, currently the MP from Rajasthan represents 3 times more votes than one from Lakshadweep. Second, reflecting demographic realities. Adjusts boundaries to account for internal migration and urbanization since the 1971 freeze. Third, correcting seat undervaluation. Northern states like UP and Bihar are currently underrepresented relative to their actual 2026 population. Fourth, administrative efficiency. Smaller constituencies allows MPs to manage developmental funds and local issues more effectively. Fifth, updating SC/ST reservations, that is readjusts reserved seat based on the latest demographic shifts to marginalized communities. Sixth, bridging gap between citizens and MPs. Example, reduces the average population per MP from 25 lakh to more manageable 15 lakh. Major challenge in delimitation. First, the north-south divide. Southern state fear being penalized for successful population control. Example, Tamil Nadu's seat share could drop from 7.1% to 6.3%. Second, Hindi heartland may gain a perpetual majority, sidelining regional linguistic identities. Example, UP and Bihar together could control nearly 25% of the 850 seat Lok Sabha. Second, language and cultural hegemony. Fears that one nation narrative will override the diverse cultural interests of smaller states. Fourth, diminishing Rajya Sabha powers. The new 3.3:1 ratio makes Rajya Sabha numerically irrelevant during deadlocks and joint sittings. Fifth, quality of deliberation. Doubts whether a massive 850 member House can conduct meaningful debates without constant disruptions. Sixth, increased cost of exchequer. Example, estimates suggest that a 40% increase in the annual maintenance cost of the parliament complex. Seventh, gerrymandering suspicions. Allegations that the ruling party may draw boundaries to favor their specific voter bank. Eighth, delimitation in the Northeast faces ethnic tension over tribal and non-tribal representation. Coming to the way forward, first, balance population growth and fair representation. That is, consider alternative metrics such as voter density or development index to determine seat allocation. Second, increase Rajya Sabha seats to 400 plus to maintain 2:1 ratio, preserving the federal veto power. Third, ensuring the 2026 Delimitation Commission remains strictly non-partisan. Fourth, use the Interstate Council to build a consensus formula that balances population with development indices. Fifth, set population deviation limits. That is, enhance a uniform plus minus 10% deviation rule in constituency size, like Germany, to uphold voter parity. Coming to the next topic, role of opposition. In a parliamentary democracy, the opposition is as vital as the government. It is often described as the government in waiting. If there is no opposition, there is no democracy, said by Sir Ivor Jennings. The duty of opposition is to propose nothing, to oppose everything, and to turn out the government, said by Lord Randolph Churchill, reflecting the traditional adversarial role. Once a government is committed to the principle of silencing the voice of opposition, it has only one way to go, and that is down the path of increasingly repressive measures, said by Harry S. Truman. The post of leader of opposition is a statutory one, recognized under the Salary and Allowances of Leadership of Opposition in Parliament Act 1977. To be recognized, a leader must first belong to a largest opposition party having at least 10% of the total strength of the House, that is 55 seats in Lok Sabha. Second, be officially recognized by Speaker or Chairman. Third, the post was vacant from 2014 to 2024 because no single opposition party reached 55 seat mark. Next is significance of opposition in democracy. First, checks and balances. It prevents the ruling party from exercising absolute power or passing arbitrary legislation without scrutiny. Example, recent failure of Constitution 131st Amendment Bill. Second, ensures executive accountability. That is, uses parliamentary tools like question hour and 0 hour to demand answers from ministers. Third, alternative policy proposals function as a shadow government. offering viable policy alternatives to the public. Fourth, safeguards minority interests, represents the voices of those who did not vote for the majority, protecting diverse cultural and regional identities. Fifth, legislative scrutiny, that is, plays a crucial role in parliamentary committees where they analyze the fine print of complex bills. Sixth, upholds public interest, that is, highlights administrative failures, corruption, or public grievance that the government might overlook. Example, exposing Fodder scam, Bofors scam. Seventh, watchdog of constitutional values, acts as a barrier against laws that might threaten secularism or federalism. Example, opposition to Farm Bill. Eighth, vents popular discontent, that is, provides a formal channel for citizen protests, preventing dissent from turning into violent street movement. Ninth, prepares future leadership, that is, serves as a training ground for future ministers and prime ministers to understand governance through critique. Coming to the major challenges faced by opposition. First, diminishing parliamentary time. Increasing use of guillotine motions and frequent adjournments limits the time available for opposition debate. Second, marginalization of appointments. Example, government majority and appointment committee of CEC. Third, misuse of investigative agencies. Allegations that the ED, CBI, and IT departments are used selectively to target opposition leaders. Fourth, Speaker's partisan perception. Example, refusal to admit a removal motion against CSE despite signature of over 100 MPs. Fifth, legislative bypassing. Increasing the use of money bill tag to bypass Rajya Sabha when the opposition is stronger. Sixth major challenge is lack of internal cohesion. Ideological differences within umbrella alliances like India Bloc can lead to um, contradictory messaging. Seventh, suspension of members prevents the opposition from participating in key votes. Example, in December 2023, January 2024, over 140 MPs were suspended. Coming to the way forward, first, formalize UK style shadow cabinets to provide domain expertise and alternative budget. Second, statutory opposition day, that is, dedicate one day a week in parliament solely to the opposition to set the agenda. Third, mandate that all bills must be referred to standing committees for bipartisan review. Fourth, legislative productivity targets, agreeing on code of decorum to minimize disruption while maximizing the quality of debate. Coming to the next topic, suspension of MPs. Recent context. Winter session 2023, an unprecedented 19% of the parliament, that is 146 MPs, was suspended for demanding a statement on the security breach. Second, in a rare moment of consensus, the Lok Sabha revoked the suspension of 8 opposition MPs on March 17, 2026 after a motion moved by Parliamentary Affairs Minister. Third, new 2026 protocols now explicitly ban the display of AI generated video images and placards within the House precincts. Justification of suspension. First, maintaining House decorum. Example, Rule 373 Lok Sabha empowers the Speaker to remove members whose conduct is grossly disorderly. Second, preventing persistent obstruction. Example, Rule 374 Lok Sabha and 256 Rajya Sabha allows suspension for persistently and willfully obstructing business. Third, upholding Speaker's authority. Fourth, enforcing conduct rules. Example, 1989 updated rulebook prohibits shouting slogans or tearing documents. Fifth, ensuring legislative productivity. That is, it prevents a few members from stalling bills that affect the entire nation's governance. Sixth, safety and security of staff and other members from violent aggressive behavior. Seventh, accountability to taxpayer. Example, cost of a stalled hour is approximately 2.5 crore. Eighth, preventing unparliamentary tactics like playing a tape recorder or displaying AI deepfakes. Coming to the criticism of suspension. First criticism, silencing the opposition. Example, the Telecom Bill and Criminal Laws 2023 were passed while 146 MPs were absent. Second, erosion of representation. Suspending an MPs uh, effectively disenfranchises millions of voters whose voices are no longer heard. Third, third is partisan application. There are claims that ruling parties' disruptions are ignored while opposition dissent is strictly penalized. Fourth criticism is deletion of question. Suspended MPs lose right to have their parliamentary questions answered, reducing executive oversight. Fifth, suspension should be the last step, not the first reaction to protest. Sixth, international observers often cite mass suspension as a sign of democratic backsliding in India. Example, reports from VDEM and Al Jazeera. Seventh, trust deficit. Constant friction and punitive actions create a hostile environment, ending the possibility of bipartisan cooperation. Coming to the way forward. First, codifying disorderly conduct, clearly define unruly behavior in the rule book to remove the speaker's subjective opinion from the process. Second, statutory opposition days. Dedicate specific days for opposition to set agenda, that is UK model, to reduce the need for disruption. Third, before suspension, a mandatory meeting of the business advisory committee should try to resolve the deadlock. Fourth, graduated penalty scale. Introduce a tiered system, that is warning, naming, day suspension, session suspension to prevent over punishing. Coming to the next topic, issues with opening speeches of governors in state legislature. R. Venkatraman prescribed the address by presidents and governors at the commencement of the first session of the Houses each year as a British anachronism and meaningless formality. Recent context. Governors in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka sparked controversy by skipping large section of the cabinet approved speeches that were critical of union government policies. Second, in 2025, the Tamil Nadu and Kerala assemblies passed resolutions urging the president to intervene and ensure that governors do not deviate from the text prepared by the Council of Ministers. In the state of Tamil Nadu versus Governor, Supreme Court reaffirmed that the governor is a ceremonial conduit and cannot act as advisory to the elected government. Coming to the constitutional provision. First, Article 176 1 subclause 1. At the commencement of the first session after each general election and first session after each year, the governor shall address the legislative assembly. Second, Article 175 grants governor the right to address the house at any other time, though this is rarely used and is distinct from mandatory special address. Coming to the next coming to the next one, it is major issues in opening speeches. Issues. First issue, selective omission of paragraphs. Example, Kerala governor omitted paragraphs criticizing union fiscal federalism policies. Second, unilateral text alteration. Example, Karnataka governor in 2026 requested changes to 11 paragraphs before agreeing to read the speech. Third, gubernatorial walkouts. Example, Tamil Nadu governor walked out in February 2024 after the speaker began the Tamil rendition. Fourth, Article 176 does not explicitly say read verbatim, allowing governors to claim interpretative space. Fifth, parallel power center. Using the address as a personal manifesto turns a neutral office into a political actor. Sixth, violation of Westminster model. In India's parliamentary system, the head of state is a ceremonial figure, not an executive. Seventh, erosion of federalism. Centrally appointed governors interfering in state policy addresses is seen as remote control by the union. Coming to the way forward, first, codifying conventions. Formalize the parliamentary conventions that the speech is a government statement and not a governor's speech. Second, time bound objection mechanism. Governors must communicate any factual objections in writing at least 48 hours before the session. Third, strengthening Article 163. Amend the constitution to explicitly mention that address to legislature is a non-discretionary executive function. Fourth, presiding officer's power. Empower the speaker to read the skipped portion into the record as an official deemed address. Fifth, establish a formal coordination committee between CM's office and Raj Bhavan to settle drafts. Next, coming to the joint sitting of the parliament. A joint sitting of the parliament is an extraordinary constitutional mechanism used to resolve a legislative deadlock between the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Constitutional provision, Article 108. First, summoning. The President of India summons the joint sitting after a deadlock arises. Second, conditions of deadlock. A joint sitting can be called if, after a bill is passed by one house and transferred to another house, the bill is rejected by the other house. The houses have finally disagreed on the amendment to be made. More than 6 months elapsed from the date of reception without the bill being passed. Third, the Speaker of Lok Sabha presides. In their absence, the Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha. If they are also absent, the Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha presides the joint sitting. Fourth, voting and decision. The bill is passed by simple majority of the total members of both houses present and voting. Fifth, quorum. 1/10 of the total membership of both houses. Sixth, joint sitting is also held for special address by the President under Article 87. Coming to the need for joint sitting. First, breaking legislative deadlock. Second, provides a constitutional safety valve to harmonize and differing perspective of the popularly elected Lok Sabha and leadership and the federally representative Rajya Sabha. Third, governance continuity.